best way to prepare for an LSAC forum or a law school fair? What do you say? What do you ask? What do you wear? Let's talk about it. For those of you who are new, my name is Cindy Montgomery, and I am the Executive Director here at Barrier Breakers, where we provide high-touch admissions advising to students applying to law school. And today, we are talking about preparing for law school fairs and forums. And we get this question a lot. We know that there are a lot of forums coming up this fall. We know that there are different things that you're preparing for. Barrier Breakers is also really excited. We are hosting our first in-person information session in New York City in partnership with St. John's Law School, and we're so excited for that. It is completely free and open to the public. You can find the link below to register. So if you want to meet St. John's or you want to meet Barrier Breakers, you want to meet me, I'll be there. Definitely come say hello. I would love to meet you. And if you're going to the New York Law Forum by LSAC, or you're going to any other number of law school fairs this fall, I want to help you prepare, and I hope this video answers your questions. So we are going to give 8 tips for putting your best foot forward at law school fairs and forums this season. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, what do you do before the forum? Like before the forum even starts. You've registered, like step 1, register, right? Okay, great. And then what's step 2? Step 2 is make sure that you look up the list of schools and organizations that are going to be at that fair or at that forum. Do your research ahead of time. Try to make a short list of schools that you're interested in, but also don't limit yourself to just the ones you already know. And I think this is one of those top mistakes that students make when they go to these forums or these fairs. Even when we have our own law school fair at the Break Into Law conference virtually every summer, students tend to go to the schools they already know, but that means they miss out on gems at schools they didn't know. Right? Even if you haven't heard of the school, it doesn't mean necessarily that the school is a bad fit for you. The benefit and the beauty of these forums and fairs is that you get an opportunity to meet schools. You get an opportunity to learn about different schools. So don't waste that opportunity. Don't, sell yourself short by just only going to the ones that you already know, right? You've already spent the last 2 years looking at their website and stalking all of their admissions officers. Yeah, it's good to go to those schools, but go to some other ones too, right? Challenge yourself to meet at least 2, I'm going to say 3, but at least 2 schools that you hadn't heard of, or if you heard of it, you don't really know that much about it, but you're going to learn something new. You are going to want to prepare a little bit before you go to these forums, and so you want to do some research, at least on the schools especially that you know you want to. If it's a school that you've never heard of and you're challenging yourself, that's fine, right? But for the schools that you're like, these are on my short list schools, I know I want to apply here, I'm definitely really interested, do some research beforehand. Look at their programs and their clinics, and that will help you ask specific questions. And this is a question that we get a lot. What do I ask? What do I ask the schools? What do I say to the schools? My first piece of advice to you is to remember that everyone on the other side of the desk is a human, just like you. Right? They're just a person. They're not trying to get you. This is not a test. I think sometimes we get really nervous, especially for first gen. We've never been in these situations before. We get so nervous. We're like, oh my gosh, they're going to judge me. And if I say the wrong thing, that's it. I'm not going to get into the school. And nothing could be further from the truth. First off, they are not going there like, that question, it was only a B+ question. It wasn't an A question. When they apply, we'll probably waitlist them. That is not what's happening, right? They are not thinking that. They are looking forward to getting to know you and to meet you, and they understand that you're nervous. And it's okay to say that, right? You don't have to pretend to be someone that you're not at these forums. I always like to say, remember that they're human. Hi, hey, how's your day going? I never get asked this question when we go to fairs. And whenever, someone tries to have conversation with me, I'm like, wow, this is a really great person. I remember them. So don't be afraid if you find yourself blanking. You're like, oh my God, my list of questions that I prepared for last night, I don't know where they are, right? And you're standing there and you're like, hi, and they're like, hi. And you could be like, how's it going? How are you? That's okay, right? And you can use that time to remember your list of questions. Now, there are a number of questions that you can ask. You can ask them about their support for first generation students, if that's something that's important to you, or how the school is defining diversity or what diversity initiatives they have. If you are a parent or a military veteran, you might want to ask about some of those affinity groups. What academic supports does the school have in place to help ensure that students who have taken some time off between college and law school are able to feel supported as they re-enter higher education. You can, of course, ask about specific programs, especially if they have like an accelerated JD or a part-time program, or those sort of special programs that admissions would really know about. You can definitely ask that. You can ask about the culture of the school, or what's that staff person's favorite thing about that school. Sometimes the person that you're speaking to is also an alum of that school, and they might have some really great memories, and they might have some really great reasons why they love their school so much that they decided to work there, and that can start a really great conversation. And as you're talking, you might find other questions or other points of connection with that person. Going to these law school fairs and forums is really about connecting with the person on the other side of the table. It's about having a great moment, right? It is not a test, it is not a quiz, but it is about sharing a moment, getting to know a little bit more about that school and seeing if that school would be a good fit for you, and getting your questions answered in a way that makes you feel more confident and more reassured as you go into the application cycle. Now, another way that you can feel more confident when you go into these fairs is by making sure you've got a good elevator pitch or your why law statement, right? Because at some point, someone might ask you, oh, what area of law are you interested in? And you don't want to be like, yeah, all of it, I'm interested in it all, right? Like, they're going to be like, really, all of it? And you're going to be like, I don't know, haven't done any research, haven't really narrowed down my why law statement, don't really know why I'm applying to law school. Don't say those things, right? So try to think a little bit about, who are you? What's your background? What are your career aspirations? What area of law are you interested in? If you've been watching our videos from some time, or if you've gone through our personal and diversity statement course, link is below and in the show notes if you need it, you'll know how to craft that why law statement, because we take you through that as you're developing your personal statement. That's really the crux of why you're going to law school, and we always talk about how your personal statement should explain why law, why now, and ideally what area of law you're interested in. And so if you've been doing some work on your personal statement, if you've been working on that part already, you already have the answer to that. Hi, my name is City Montgomery. I am from Maryland. My parents are military veterans, and I'm so interested in blah. Right? Like, if I was interested in veterans law, maybe that would make sense. Like, if I'm not, then like maybe I don't mention my parents are veterans, right? Like, that's a random aside. But you know what I'm saying. You also don't want to give like a really long answer, because sometimes at these law school forums, there's really long lines for really popular schools. And so of course you want to be able to get your questions answered, but you also want to be respectful of the fact that there are a lot of students trying to meet similar schools. So when they ask you, oh, what area of law you're interested in, you don't want to be like, the year was 1994 and there I was, right? You really don't need to go through all of that, because they don't have time for that. And like, that's not the place of the forum. You don't need to recite also your whole personal statement, because they're going to read it. So this is a chance for you to be able to answer that question in 1-2 sentences max, short and sweet. Make sure that you're conveying who you are to them in a way that is going to allow you to move the conversation forward. Now, let's talk about dress. Okay, so this is usually like a business casual, business formal, somewhere in between attire. So right now I have on a blouse, I have on a sweater, I have some pearls, you can't see, but I have business slacks on. This would be perfectly fine to wear to a law school forum. As some might say, it's very demure, it's very mindful, okay, right? It's not giving too much. Now, you can wear a suit if you would like, especially if you're a guy. That tends to, we tend to see a lot of jackets and ties, and that's totally fine. You don't have to wear a suit. You definitely don't have to wear a suit. But business casual, I wouldn't go any more casual than business casual. This is not the time to do a lot, right? So this is not the time for your bright pink, legally blonde suit. do not do that, right? It's not a time to make a statement with your clothes. You want to be professional, you want to be clean. If you don't have a lot of professional clothes, do not stress. You do not need to buy clothes for this event. Just look like maybe if you were going to church or a nice lunch with your grandmother, right? Something that is, again, clean, professional looking. Doesn't have to be over the top, doesn't have to be business formal, but business casual is completely fine. Sometimes the forums are a little hot. It really depends on the location. So you might want to, dress accordingly if you know that you're someone that might sweat a lot, or if you know you're someone that gets cold. Some of the rooms also could be very well air conditioned. So those are some things to think about. Ladies, like, I know heels are a thing, and if you can walk in heels comfortably for an hour or two as you're on your feet, by all means, I support it. But if after 15 or 20 minutes you're going to be really kind of in pain and uncomfortable, ditch the heels. Let's go with flats, right? The forums are a lot of standing in line, standing and walking to different tables, standing and networking, right? And so you really need to be able to be in shoes that are going to be business casual or business, but that are going to be comfortable, that you're going to be able to be in for a while. And that's really important. My fifth tip is to prepare your day. Now, if it's an LSAC forum, that means using the LSAC website. LSAC will share information about the schedule, the agenda, the location of the law schools, the workshops for the day. If it's a law school fair that's not put on by LSAC, usually they will still share that information ahead of time. So you can use that to map out your day. Which panels do you want to attend? What time do you want to get there? Is there going to be traffic? Do you need to figure out parking? All of those things. You can identify if there are, like I said, schools that you want to attend, or vendors or organizations that you want to make sure that you stop by. But sometimes there are overlapping panels or sessions, and so you want to make sure that you've planned that out. Now, we just talked about sessions and panels. A lot of these fairs and also the LSAC forum will have workshops, and you want to make sure that you're attending the workshops. Don't just go for the fair and be like super tunnel visioned, because a lot of times these workshops are the place for you to get your questions answered. These can be workshops on financial aid, workshops on the LSAT exam itself. I know at the DC Law Fair this past week, I participated and moderated a mock admissions panel with several different deans of law schools, and we as a panel talked about what law schools are looking for and different ways to weight GPA and LSAT score and letters of recommendation and different things like that. And so you can learn so much from these panels and these sessions. You don't want to miss out on them. And these sessions can be super helpful for you, whether you're just thinking about law school, you're super early in the process, or you're like in the thick of it and you are applying right now. So I don't want you to think, oh, those aren't for me, I'll go later, or oh, it's too late for me, I'm already applying. You still want to make sure that you're attending workshops and panels. Now, you're going to be learning a lot of information at these forums and fairs. So my seventh tip for you is to take notes. Take notes on different things that they said. And a lot of times they will have materials, like they'll have like a sheet of paper, or they'll have different things about their programs. Go ahead and take notes on that, right? Have a little bag. Usually they'll give you a bag. Usually it's sponsored by our friends Access Lex, and you can put everything in it, but it can be good to have a little notepad with you, or something where you have all of your notes, or if you're taking notes on their papers, that you have that too. You can jot down who you spoke with, also get a business card from them, and that's really helpful, because my last tip is to follow up. And so if you get a business card and you have some notes about what you spoke about, then after the forum you can reach back out and you can say, hi, so-and-so, it was so great to meet you. I really loved our conversation on this. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. If you have any follow-up questions, you could put them there. Otherwise, thank you so much. I really look forward to applying. this cycle or whatever it may be. You can also use the follow-ups to ask for any fee waivers to that school. So that's a really big benefit of sometimes going to these forums or fairs. You can get fee waivers from different schools, or if they have any upcoming events specific to their school, you can find out more information about that. But it's always great to build a rapport. And I did get this question, do law schools care about demonstrated interest? Not in the same way as college and undergraduate admissions, but it's always good to build relationships with admissions, because you never know if you end up waitlisted later. It may have been helpful for you to build that relationship the entire time. Law school admissions offices are very small, and they do tend to remember people. So that's always great. I know when I meet students at these fairs and forums, I always tell them, make sure you email me, make sure you email me. And I feel like maybe 10, maybe 20% of students actually email me. And I love working with students, and whether that means I'm helping you get access to our course for free, even if you don't have a fee waiver, because you emailed me, or I'm helping you work out a payment plan because you emailed me, and now you can get access to our one-on-one admissions advising, right? Or I've figured out a way to connect you with someone in my network because you've emailed me. So I give out my cards and I give out my contact information at these fairs and forums, and oftentimes for barrier breakers, I'm the one that's traveling, although sometimes it's my colleagues, and I love that. But it's so fun getting to meet you and learn about you, and we have these great connections. And then, sometimes you guys disappear. And that is something that you do also with the law schools, right? You have these conversations with the admission deans and directors, and you're like, oh my God, I met all these schools, and then you disappear. So I would encourage you not to disappear. Reach back out, say thank you, make that connection and make it stronger. That's a good skill to practice, because being a lawyer involves a lot of networking, and so you want to build that habit of following up on connections as much as you can. And if you do all of these things, you will have a successful forum or a successful law school fair. By preparing in advance, also by being confident in yourself and remembering this is not a test. You are more than enough, because you are probably a kind, loving, caring person. You are probably a respectful person. I always say with this, and sometimes with interviews, being an amazing person, asking the perfect question, having the greatest elevator pitch, none of this will really get you into a law school, right? But being kind of a jerk, being rude, being pushy, saying or making law schools feel like you don't have the time of day for them, or like, oh, I have a 180, I don't need to talk to you. You're probably going to give me a full ride anyways. Like, being like that, no, honestly, that can definitely ruin your chances of actually getting into the school, no matter your credentials, right? So it definitely is a good thing to be a good person, to be kind and conscientious. It can really go a long way in building that relationship, because law school admissions is a two-way street. I talked in previous videos about law school admissions and those why law essays, and how it's like convincing the school to give you that final rose, right? We want the school to want us, but we also want to make sure that that's a good fit for us. And it is a two-way relationship. You are learning about them, and they are learning about you, and you want to make sure that it's built on an authentic relationship. And the law school fairs and forums are a great way to do that. So hopefully this makes you feel a little bit prepared, a little bit more confident. If you have questions, definitely reach out to us at bit.ly/breakinto-law-school. I hope I meet some of you tonight when we are hosting our in-person information session in partnership with St. John's Law School. We are so excited about that, so make sure you definitely stop by. It is a free event. It is at 7 o'clock at the Manhattan campus of St. John's, and we are so excited to meet you. We will also be giving away some free goodies, and I have some special gifts for those of you that show up in person. If you are attending the LSAC Forum in New York this weekend, I'm wishing you all the best of luck. Please reach out to us if you need anything, and we can't wait to help you on your law school applications.